Hello everyone and welcome to my channel, where today I'm going to attempt to reupholster this bench. Now we got this bench and we thought it was going to be like a light gray online, and we didn't think it was going to be velvet, so we haven't loved it, and we picked out this new fabric that we thought worked well with the vibe of the rest of our house and the vibe of our bedroom. Now we rotate these quilts out, so this fabric doesn't necessarily go with the quilt that we have on right now, but I think it works with most of them. Now, the first step of trying to reupholster this bench was to cut off the bottom, cover, the bottom felt cover. There were about 1,000 staples in the top of this, so if I wanted to remove it the right way, I guess I would have taken out every staple. But that didn't seem like a great option for the moment, so I just cut it off, and I was trying to look and see. I thought that I would be able to unscrew the wood, pop off the wood part, and then just be able to reupholster the fabric pretty easily and then screw the wood back on. I didn't see any place to do that, so I started taking off the legs of the benches, seeing if there were any clues here, and just didn't look really like that was an option. All I saw were these cords that connected the buttons to the bottom of the bench, which I started cutting off because I was going to use a different string to reattach the buttons. The original plan was to have the bench look exactly the same as it was now, just with different fabric. Okay, I got all the buttons. Oh, right as I say that, I find the one button that's still on. I got all the other buttons off. The problem is I don't know how to get the wood off. Like, this is all wood. This might be impossible to... Well, not impossible. I'm not going to say this is impossible to reupholster, but I really don't understand how I would do this. Do I just like rip it off? Okay, well, good news. It looks like this is just glued on. So I can, the other side seemed easier. I can peel this off, recover it in fabric, and reconnect it. You know what I might do? Because I don't need these buttons and it's gonna be a lot easier to not have buttons. I might just go get another piece of foam. Completely. Because listen, I'm no master upholsterer. Oh, and I just ripped this in half. Okay, I'm just calling it. I'm calling it. I'm not saving this. What I need to try to do, I don't know if you can see, there's this little edge. I'll zoom in here in a minute. There's this little edge that is on here that I need to get off so that I can reupholster that, so that it won't be on and my things will match. I don't really know how to get it off. Oh, interesting. Okay, there's like this cord. I'm kind of glad I'm not trying to reuse the buttons and the original cord, because I feel like with the fabric I chose that has lines, sorry, you're sitting on the bench and I'm cutting things on the bench, so that's why you're moving a little bit. But I am, my fabric has these vertical lines, and I feel like if I tried to reuse them, it would be bad, and my lines may not actually look straight. So I think I'm just gonna do a plain, take out the buttons, reupholster just a regular bench, nothing fancy. Because I've done that to my piano bench before, and that actually worked. This cord situation is gonna be the fanciest part, for sure. So I'm looking to try to recreate this cord situation, and they actually sewed it together. So I think what I'm gonna do is try to recreate that and break out the sewing machine and try to actually sew the fabric around 2 cords, and then glue them, like either hot glue maybe them, to the board, and then put the cushion on top. I think that's what I'm probably gonna end up with it. Honestly, I probably should have Googled more reupholstering tips. I thought it was pretty straightforward because I've done it with my piano bench, but this is definitely a lot different. So comment below the best resources or tips that you have for upholstering. I'm just winging this, you know, which is fine. Okay, I got both cords out. I'll show you the disastrous looking situation right now, but I think it's gonna be okay. Here's what we got so far. Yeah, it's just staple after staple in here. New strategy. This is gonna go well or be a disaster. All of the fabric is under these wood planks. I found a little gap. I'm gonna try to get the wood planks off with this screwdriver by like prying it off. And then restapling the board back on. Now this seems like it might not go well, but I really feel like this is the only way. Oh, and the fabric still is not even coming loose. Where is this fabric attached to? What the heck? This is possibly, maybe, the worst bench that I could have chosen to reupholster. I'm gonna flip it back over again and see if there's any clues. What the heck? Huh. The actual reupholstery part should be fine, but I literally can't figure out how to get these edge fabric pieces off. Oh, that was some good progress. Okay. Oh, I found it. I found it. All right, so these are all just have a million staples in them, and then this side thing I am actually just ripping off now. Well, I'm just gonna keep doing this for a long time, and I'll let you know when it's done. The demolition is taking much longer than I thought. Okay, I'm changing strategy for the 12th time, but you know, the things that had the cords in them were sticking out, so they definitely can't stay. But when I ripped that off, it is actually pretty flush with the side. So I think as long as I get kind of these big pieces off, I can sew the cords and just stick them over top of this fabric. Honestly, this part of like getting the fabric off the sides has been demoralizing to the project. I feel like I don't even want to do it anymore. But I'm pushing through because now the bench is completely demolished and I can't just leave it like this. I'm gonna keep going, but I might not try to get all of it off. I might just try to get enough to where it's flat enough, if that makes sense. Listen, we know at this point it's not gonna be a perfect bench, okay? It just needs to look passable so that if someone comes in our room, it's not obvious, like, did you do this yourself? At this very moment in time, I don't know what the title of this video is. It could be bench upholstering disaster. Bench went totally wrong. Tried to reupholster a bench and I am left with a demolished bench. I don't know what it's gonna be. I'm hoping the title is something like, it was almost a disaster, but I reupholstered a bench. So anyway, all that to say, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm gonna try to wing it into having a usable bench. My next move was to drive to Hobby Lobby to try to get some foam. Okay, at Hobby Lobby I got these foam boards, and it's like 3 inches thick, so it'll be nice and comfy. But I glue them all together, and I need to cut it out. Now here's the thing. Now, when I've reupholstered before, I would take like the wood off. Like I would take wood off, glue my foam directly on here like it was originally for this bench, and then wrap with fabric. But the only problem is like I can't wrap. I guess I have to do something similar to what they did, like glue it or staple it or both. And just cover this stuff up. I don't really know how I'm gonna cut this well. This is where things really went south, if you don't count it as being south already after the whole fabric debacle. But I thought that using a serrated knife I could just kind of do a rough cut at first, and so I didn't care too much if it was smooth because I thought, oh, I can fix it up later. But when I tried to go back with a serrated knife, it just didn't work to even it out. It compressed and it just was lumpy. I've moved to the living room. I have this draped over. The lines are all even. Here is where the cutoff is, so I'm going to go around and cut the line and hopefully then be able to glue it down. Okay, so I cut this a little bit longer than I need to. This is about where I need to, and so I got a little bit longer. I think I'm gonna, glue all around the edges and staple it if I need to. I might try not to staple, even though I think I might have to staple. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. At first, I'm gonna just glue it. And then I remembered that I actually got a rotary cutter for Christmas right here. Oh, it's upside down. Right here. I have not broken it out yet because I haven't had time to sew, but I think the rotary cutter will be perfect for cleaning up the edges on the bottom. So I'm going to open that. Okay, here it is. It comes with a couple mats and cool accessories, but for this one, I think I just need the actual blades and the rotary cutter. Ah, so this is like the safety, can't move it, and this, you can. Okay, I draped it over. I think the lines are pretty straight. Maybe not perfect because my foam's not perfect, but pretty good. Okay, I've glued two sides. I don't know how to handle the corners necessarily. It's a bit lumpy. I tried to even it out, but it's not really that good. That's okay. Hopefully no one's seeing a lot of this side of the bench. Not ideal, but I think I am gonna have to do the cord thing at the bottom because the rotary cutter didn't, I mean, it worked, but it doesn't look perfect because the edges are fraying and stuff. So I'm gonna try the cord method. That'll probably be tomorrow. I wanna get the rest of this glued tonight. I just did the third side. As you can tell, I definitely need the cord at the bottom here, but I think the rest of it is looking pretty good. I am starting to believe that I should have just bought a $100 bench instead of spending like $55 on the foam, $10 on the fabric, and $7 on the glue or something. Like I could have just probably gotten a bench that I liked, but this can be a learning experience. I have all four sides glued. Honestly, I'm not liking it much. I didn't realize how lumpy the sides were. Like I knew they were kind of lumpy, but when I draped the fabric over them, it looked okay, obviously, because I hadn't glued it to the lumpy sides. So I'm regretting that now. I don't really know how I could have cut it a ton better. Like this foam, I feel like it's just hard to work with. The feeling is comfortable. I like the feeling, but I just don't know if it's, I am not having much hope on it turning out very well. But I think I'm gonna call it a night. I have all four sides like glued down. Tomorrow I'm gonna try to do the cords, or at least one cord, and wrapped around the bottom to make the bottom look more finished. Okay, it's the next day, and I just want to do a little check-in because my original plan was to glue down the corners. You know, I feel pretty confident that I could glue down the corners and make like an edge piece or something to make that bottom edge look more finished and polished. I have enough fabric. I could sew a piece and wrap it around the edge. I was thinking like instead of doing the cords, I could do a thick piece of fabric all around the edge, and I think that would look pretty good. So when I went to bed, I thought that I will do that the next day, that I would do that today. However, when I woke up, I just kept looking at the bench and realizing I am never going to be happy with this until I go back and rip off the fabric and fix the actual foam. I did not prepare well for how to work with this foam, and it is really just way too lumpy that it's never going to look good enough if I don't go back and fix that. So I could have gone back and finished this today, but I'm gonna hold off because I want to figure out the best way to go back and fix this foam. If I need like to take the whole thing off and do a hot wire, or if there's some other easier way, because the knife, the serrated knife that I was using, made it a little bit lumpy. Because I think because I tried to cut it while it was connected to the bench, and I should have just measured it out and cut it not on the bench. But I don't know, when I tried to go even it out, the foam compresses and it doesn't work very well. So anyway, I was gonna finish this video and finish the bench just for the sake of finishing it. But I'm pausing and I'm gonna research how to fix the foam. And I'm gonna do a part 2 of this video when I go back and finish it, because it just isn't working. And you know what? My part 2 might be buying a new bench because there's also the issue of the foam lines on the bench. Like when you sit on it, because it's like connected pieces of foam, there's lines that you can see between it. So I don't know, like just nothing with this bench is working very well. And I don't want to just have it makeshift and then have to buy a new bench anyway. I'd rather learn something about upholstery, pause, attempt to fix it, and if that attempt doesn't work, then I will buy a new bench. So that is all for this week's video. I know it still looks like crap, but it's gonna be a learning experience, I think. I foresee myself having to buy a new bench, but you know, we're gonna attempt to fix it first and learn something about upholstery. The thing is, it was just so different once I got in there than what I thought. Thought it was gonna be an easy, you know, rewrap with the fabric, use a staple gun on the wood, and then put the wood back on. I did not anticipate this whole cable situation with, you know, trying to do a lip of fabric, and it was just way more complicated than I thought. So anyway, that is this week's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss my part 2 of the bench saga at some point, and follow along with my journey of learning all these homesteading skills. So thank you all for being here. Make sure to subscribe, and I will see you next week for another video.